Hey, everybody! Welcome to Let's Talk About Things and Stuff. I'm your friendly neighborhood youth guy, Matt Parker, and this is my good friend, Caitlin.
Hey,
How you doing today, Caitlin?
I'm alright.
Pretty good?
Yeah, it's been a long day and it's only 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Hey, we're recording this on Eclipse Day, so we just were outside at 1:54 in the afternoon to see the eclipse. Looked at it directly with my eyes and burned my corneas off, as you can tell, as I'm looking around at people. Clearly.
Making eye contact.
Yeah, and singing Total Eclipse of the Heart,
Unfortunately.
which is an amazing song in its own right. Yeah. But it's worth it. Worth it to go outside and experience natural phenomenon.
I thought you were going to say it was worth it to go outside and burn your corneas.
No, it's worth it to go outside and dance to Total Eclipse of the Heart. Because that is what life is all about. No, to experience natural phenomenon, to touch grass, so to speak. It's good. You had a long work day today.
It wasn't super long. It was just early. Had to be at work at 6 this morning, so.
Yeah, that's a long day.
I only worked till noon, so.
I woke up at 6 a.m. this morning.
Mm-hmm.
A.m. this morning. You're not supposed to say those two things together.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're talking about a specific morning. Like, it could be confused. Like, I woke up at 6 a.m. 2 mornings ago.
And that's not saying this morning, though.
But today, like, on this morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. So I woke up at 6 a.m. on this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would probably be appropriate. What do you think? Is it appropriate to say 6 a.m. this morning if you're referring to the specific morning of this morning?
So, that reminds me of an episode of a podcast I watch. I've
Okay.
referenced this podcast before. It's the You Should Know podcast.
Yes.
And they've debated about that exact phrase. And that it should... One party says it should not be said, one doesn't care that deeply.
I don't
But
care.
he's also one that
Say
says
however
it
you want. Right.
often.
Yeah.
And so... But it bothers his friend when it's said, because it's AM this morning. He's like, no, that doesn't... You're saying the same thing. And
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
This is the kind of conversation that my family has around the dinner table. Like, we're sitting around the dinner table, and it's like some random kind of argument pops up, and it's like, should you say 6 a.m. this morning? Or, what is the, this historical thing that we've just been learning about? And it's kind of a crazy thing, the kinds of things that come up around the dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great segue to our interactive thing that we want you to do. What does family dinner look like for you? Is it grabbing fast food in the car? You're picking up Chick-fil-A and heading to the ball fields? Or do you actually sit around the table and have a home-cooked meal? Or is it a little of both or whatnot? Or do you ever have family dinner time together? Everybody sitting around the same car's seats or table at the same time. We'd love to hear it about your thing, your family dinner time. We'd love to see pictures of it too. So our challenge to you, our weekly challenge, our challenge to you for this time is to send us a picture of your family dinner time. What does it look like? Wherever you are tonight for dinner, shoot us a selfie and post it in the comments. Shoot us a text or email, or walk up to us on the street and say, "Hey, here's a picture of us at dinner last night."
Okay.
We'd love to see it.
It's a conversation starter.
It is. It truly is. All right. Well, Caitlin, what have you been consuming in the cultural arena these days?
So, last week, I finally decided to start watching Only Murders in the Building. And I binged watched the first 2 seasons in a matter of 3 days.
I know.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course you did. It's really good, except for the F-bombs, which are
There was a lot.
often unnecessary.
I was startled by how often it occurs.
But the story, the acting, like what's her name? Like is so like low key.
You're talking about Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she was a childhood actor, so
Yeah, that's true.
she's got the experience.
She's a Disney Channel girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So good. All right, give me your review. Like, what's your like if you were writing a review in the newspaper, what would you write?
Well, I give it like 4.5 stars out of 5, for the sake of the F-bombs.
Got it.
Mostly. I love the dynamics of the three of them, because they're clearly three very different people, but they work so well together.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I think that's what makes it work, is how different they are, so they have their different perspectives. And then collectively they can come together and solve the murders that happen in their building.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm. I was not expecting Martin Short's character to be what it is going into the show. I don't know what I expected each character to be like, but I was kind of shocked by what his character was.
The Broadway producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 And then the former actor, big huge actor of one big TV show.
Yeah.
And then a girl renovating her aunt's apartment.
Yeah. Twist in that whole thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So Misha and I actually watched another Steve Martin and Martin Short movie, Father of the Bride, and Father of the Bride 2, Son of the Bride. No. Anyway, so Father of the Bride, Father of the Bride 2. I don't know when they first started doing stuff together, but Steve Martin and Martin Short, they've been doing stuff for a long time together, and because those two movies were like early '90s or mid '90s, early to mid '90s, and just amazing movies and super great. Franck and Mr. Bonks, yeah. It was, super good. Well, I have been listening to Beyonce's country album, air quotes in that one, because I heard one song from the album, one of the early release singles, and I was not impressed. And I was like, this is not country music. This is not good music, in my opinion. And so I heard, after having a conversation about that, that people were like, you got to listen to the whole album because it's a true album. It's like flows along. There's a flow to the album, and it tells a story kind of, and all of that stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll suspend my final judgment until I actually listen to the whole thing all in one sitting. And so I had to turn off my E filter to do this. But so there's some language, but it's not F-bombs. It's not like super bad. It's nothing sexually explicit or anything like that. It's just a few bad words sprinkled in here and there.
Okay.
That got the E rating on several songs. On the whole, it's pretty good. There are a couple of songs that I would classify in the country music genre. Like, most of it is not country. Like, by standard country music terms, it's sort of country in that it's kind of storytelling. Some of the instruments are the right instruments, but it's just not.
Does it more just fall
music.
into like pop country kind of thing?
No, it's not even that. Like, it's like, and this is actually part of the album is like this. You wanna classify this in a particular genre, but we're kind of doing some genre bending things. So I don't think she was actually trying to have a country album per se, like fitting into the norms of country music, which most country music that's on the radio these days, that's being produced these days, doesn't actually fit the norms of country music. But like, it takes more than speaking with a country accent and having steel guitar and fiddles for it to be actually country music. There's a whole range of qualifications that fits it into that genre, and I think that she was actually trying to break through some of that. And I get that, and I think that that's a brilliant thing, and she did. There are a couple of songs that I absolutely loved. One of them actually fits more in the protest songs of the 1970s, like the first song, the American Requiem. That's one of my thumbs up songs. And it fits more along the lines of Creedence Clearwater Revival and that kind of 70s protest music more than it does into country music. Maybe tips a toe into Southern rock a little bit, but I'm not sure. I think, well, Beyonce's from Houston, and so she knows, probably what.
I would assume. It's safe to assume
what country music is. So I'm sure that she intentionally kind of bent the genre a little bit, and her stylings and there's some hip hop in there. There's this one song. Okay, it is okay. I think it might be her singing in an operatic kind of style, like Latin, and I can't tell if it's her just changing her style to sing like an opera singer, and it's really good. Like, I was like, is that Beyonce? And there's no other singer like listed on the song. Like if there's a solo in the song, usually they list the singer.
Right.
Maybe if it's one of her backup singers, maybe she doesn't have to, I guess.
I don't know the details of how that works.
Yeah, I don't either. But there's no other singer listed on it. If it's a famous opera singer,
we won't know.
We won't know. But it might be Beyonce herself. And I wonder, maybe some of you guys can answer this for me. Is it Beyonce singing? I forget the name of the song, but if you know the album, you know what I'm talking about. Is that actually Beyonce singing opera on the what is it called? Cowboy Carter album? So overall, pretty good. Not my favorite, not my least favorite. Blackbird's on there from the Beatles, also not country. Not even trying to be country. Jolene is on there, which is obviously country, and
isn't it her own twist on?
Beyonce puts her own twist on Jolene. Yeah, and actually has like in the introduction of the song, Dolly Parton has a little blurb in the song. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Not my favorite, not my least favorite.
Okay.
I would not call it country music, but taken as it on its own, I think if you're not trying to wedge it into any one genre, I think you can appreciate the genius that went behind creating the album. So, yeah.
Okay. I respect it.
I'd say 1 thumb up, 1 thumb sideways.
1.5 out of 2. That's how I see it.
Maybe I would probably give it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about something that's going on in the headlines these days. A lot of talk about TikTok.
Okay.
A lot of lawmakers, bipartisan, GOP and Democratic lawmakers, calling for TikTok to either for ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, the Chinese company that runs TikTok, to either sell TikTok to an American firm or be taken off all app stores, Google Play, all of that in the United States, and have zero support for the app in the U.S. What do you think about that?
I mean, I have mixed feelings on it because, one, I use TikTok almost every day.
Doing TikToks?
No.
Or
I just watch.
You're scrolling.
Do I look like someone who would film TikToks for like often? Don't
yes.
say no. Stop. That is not me. You know that.
I know that. I'm just kidding.
But
we did just take a B-reel together though, so that's instructive.
Because I was so tough.
Yeah.
You stood posed for a picture and that was it.
Seriously. Posing, that's like exactly what I would talk about when I talk about TikTok. All right. Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
I mean, I find enjoyment in most of the videos that I watch. But, I mean, there's a real downside to it. Because, well, there's several sides to it. I think of, like, there's so much that happens with, you know, and I see this so often, is like, someone's pet is ill. So, like, watch this many times to help pay for the vet bill so you can get surgery or whatever. And I'm like, that's just using people to take care of something for you. Which I'm like, that's one thing to help someone.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, for how often I see it, it gets annoying personally. And then, like, I had another idea and I totally lost it. But sometimes it's being abused for, like, a way to make ends meet. And I get there's influencers that it's their actual job and they make a solid income off of it. But it's, like, to the point of abuse of everyone else trying to use it for their own benefit.
Okay. This is a little bit off topic, but not really. All right?
Okay.
About 15 or 20 years ago, there was a show, and I've forgotten what it's called, but Paris Hilton was one of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just following them in their daily lives. It was like in the early days of reality TV, before it really became reality TV.
Oh, man,
yeah. And one thing that was a major part of the conversation was how they were famous for no reason. They were famous for being famous,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they were just like rich people doing terrible things, and they were famous for it. And I think that there's a little bit of that in the influencer kind of model of money making. You do everything you can to get famous, and then you build a livelihood on being famous. And I'm not sure how healthy that is for society.
No, I don't see it as healthy. I mean, there's a couple of people that I follow on TikTok that I would like to believe that they, you know, made all those efforts to become famous. It's more they just happened to become famous because they were being authentic.
Okay, yeah.
But, I mean, I can't say that about everyone. But
Yeah.
I know there's a couple that have probably just happened to be genuinely themselves and people liked that. So then that's how they gained their following. But then also that could happen and then turn them into someone else because they feel the need to keep up with that and, you know, entertain all their followers and so on, therefore causing them that, like, a fall in their, like, mental health and other areas of their life.
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay, so I think that a lot of this goes into this idea of the main character ideal for that, you know, you want to feel like you're the main character in your story, and other people look at you in your story, and social media of various forms, like, gives you the opportunity to present yourself as the main character of your story. Like, you create your own soundtrack, you have videos that everybody watches, and so this I think is adds to the value of TikTok, which used to be musical.ly, yeah, owned by ByteDance, and Vine kind of morphed into TikTok. Right, and so they kind of merged the ideas. I don't know if Vine actually literally became TikTok, but
Vine kind of just ended.
And then TikTok took over.
TikTok and Musical.ly became the new Vine equivalent,
right?
As best as it could.
Yeah, and so like all of these things, kind of merged together with this sense of I want to be the main character of my story, and everybody to look at me, and I want to feel a sense of worth based on what other people, you know, on how other people cheer me on via likes and reposts and.
I mean, I know there's just a trend of that they'll make and they'll add a hashtag to it.
Right.
But I don't know if there's an
trend. There you go.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's still
trend
a
could be
trend.
the thing. Anyway, so you can tell I haven't been actually on TikTok for a while. I got on for a little bit in the early days, 2019 and 20. I was on in 2020. It was another way to connect with students when everybody was not meeting, when churches shut down, when schools shut down. I didn't have one-on-one contact with students, so TikTok was one way that I used to engage teenagers. But after a while, I was like, I don't see how this is really helping things. And I got bored with it, honestly, and I deleted it from my phone. But through this whole deal, and what the GOP and Democratic lawmakers are saying, one is that it's not good for our culture, for us to train our teenagers to try to become influencers as like that's what was the deal that we've talked about this before, that the goal for something like 40% of Gen Z, their career goal is to become an influencer, and that's like their one thing, their one goal for their life is to become an influencer, like on social media, and they're like, that's not super healthy. But two, ByteDance is a Chinese company, and China is a communist authoritarian country, and so every business in China, the way I understand it, this might be off. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Is actually controlled, if not owned, by the Chinese government. What people call the CCP, the Communist. I forget it anyway. They call it the CCP, whatever that stands for. And so, regardless if the business like guarantees that our content and our information is going to be safe, the government, which is an enemy government, like we're not on friendly terms with China, especially right now, and like there's threat of war with this enemy government, and we're sending all kinds of information. It's like a spy radio, or whatever the old things they used to use. They can get our information without even trying. Even financial, and like they can put like worms into our phones that track our like keystrokes. And like we're just like saying, here you go. And so all these lawmakers are like, well, national security, we can't have that. So that's why most state governments don't even allow their employees. If you're a state official, there are tons of states that have said, if you're a state official, you can't have TikTok on your phone. Because it's a national security thing, because we don't want China to have all of these secrets. You're texting stuff, and if you have TikTok on your phone, there's a real possibility that you could be texting this sensitive information and it be intercepted by an enemy government. And so I get what they're doing there. They're like, China cannot have any control over this app.
Yeah.
If we're going to have it available in the U.S. At the same time, though, it's like, this is an independent company. We have other foreign companies in the U.S. without the same kind of controls. It's just a different thing. Like, and it's like, we don't have those kinds of controls on them because we're a free market. And so we, as a nation, have trusted the citizens of our nation to make the right decisions, to think things through, and all of that. I think what they're worried about, though, is the propaganda that China can automatically have in the U.S. with a whole generation of users of social media, and that seems problematic, right?
Yeah.
Because there are several things that China's in favor of that make their way to the top of the For You page, but and a lot of things that are negative about China, like their treatment of the Uyghur population, that gets suppressed and taken like to the bottom of the priority of your For You page. So you search up something like the Uyghur population in China, and you're not going to find it's a little harder to find that information. Then there's the argument. I'm sure you've heard about this. Like the TikTok videos in China are all about like being studious and productive, and like positive, work hard and be loyal to China kind of stuff. And in the U.S., it's dancing people and doing vapid kind of things, and it's this kind of almost propagandic kind of thing that they're doing to weaken the younger generation of the U.S. So part of me is like, yeah, I get it. I get why you would want to ban this. Mm-hmm. I don't have TikTok on my phone, and part of it's because I'm old and follow these kinds of things and pay attention to this kind of stuff. But part of me is like, you know what? We're a free market. Companies can do what they want. Mm-hmm. Well, not whatever they want, but there's a wide range of freedoms that companies have in the U.S.
Yeah.
And we've got to trust the citizens of our country to make the wise and good decision for the good of our country. What do you think?
I mean, yeah. I immediately hearing when they were first starting of banning it, mm-hmm. I'm like, I guess we've talked about, like, I feel split between a millennial and a Gen Zer. Mm-hmm. And being on the Gen Z side, I'm like, this is what I've grown up with, and, I enjoy using TikTok. So I'm like, oh, that, wouldn't be fair, blah, 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 throw a whole fit about it. But, I mean, there's a fair risk to it, and that's a risk you take. So, I mean, because of what you could see, what you could do, what they could possibly have access to. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Well, after the bill was, I don't know if there was a bill passed or it was at least introduced in the House of Representatives, ByteDance put out a thing on TikTok. I don't know if you saw this, but it was like, contact your representative, save TikTok, make sure they don't ban TikTok. And so lawmakers all over the U.S. were like inundated with phone calls from teenagers who were like saying, don't ban TikTok, save TikTok. And they were all up in arms and protest against this push to get rid of TikTok. And like there were like 14-year-olds calling House of their representatives saying, if you ban TikTok, I will kill myself. Right? And like this whole like deal that I don't know about you, but that makes me want to ban TikTok. Not so that person would kill themselves. I obviously don't want that. But if someone is so dependent on that kind of thing, I'm like, there is some level of unhealth, and we've just got to get this thing gone. But like I said, I'm torn. I don't know what the right move. Even if we ban TikTok, though, there are ways. Like, you guys know technology in a way that I don't, and like you can get TikTok through VPNs or whatever the world terminology. You'll figure out a way to. If you want TikTok, you're gonna have TikTok on your phone. It just might not be supported by the App Store or Google Play or whatever, but you'll have it. You'll have it if you want it, and so I'm not sure how much it would really do to actually ban the thing. But anyway, what do you think? And here's a conversation that you guys can have around the table as you take your selfie around your family dinner table tonight. If it's around a table, could be around a car seat, could be around a baseball field,
could be in front of a TV.
Could be in front of a TV. That's right. What would you do if you couldn't get TikTok on the App Store or Google Play anymore? Like, if TikTok were unavailable in the U.S., what would you do? That's our question of the day. So go ahead and do that. All right. Good conversation. I love talking about this kind of stuff with you. This is a good time. Well, we're so glad that you joined us today. Leave comments and compliments in the in the comment section, or you could just come up and engage the conversation with us just on the street at Walmart, or you can DM Caitlin on TikTok and start the conversation that way. So glad you joined us, and we'll see you next time.